Tommy, let's talk about this offense. They scored 13 points. Geno Smith um, didn't do really good in the red zone. He was pushing the ball downfield, getting us to the red zone, but we had some red zone struggles. I don't know whether to blame Gino, whether to blame Ryan Grubb. I think it's a mix of both. The offensive line has 24 pressure, so you can't ignore that as well. I feel like this offense is not mature enough, right? And they need to draft and develop. You see the best organizations in the NFL, Tommy, Green Bay, draft and develop organization, young guys. Detroit, Buffalo Bills, draft and develop. You can't just get free agents to fix your offensive line. They have to be homegrown. That's the only way this team is going to get successful. And Gino is a good quarterback, man. Gino's a really good quarterback. We saw what happened with Sam Howell, right? And Seahawks fans got what they wished for. And we'll talk about Sam Howell in detail in the next segment. But just let's talk about the offense real quick.
Yeah, I mean, we we're gonna jump back a couple weeks, but we saw it this week. We didn't run the ball well enough, and I saw a little bit. Ryan Grubb really tried hard to get it going early in the game. He did, but it just wasn't going. It wasn't going. We weren't getting enough push up front. We were missing some assignments, and we could not get that run game going, which forced us into many pass situations. And you know, it was just frustrating. In the first half, we're getting into Packer territory, and then we're just completely flaming out. We get a sack, penalty, turnover in the end zone. I mean, it just over and over again, just fumbling. We got to be able to run the ball. We can. It's the same thing we're seeing. And Ryan Grubb, we have got to get Geno under center more. I mean, we were back in full shotgun mode again. It seems like everything kind of got abandoned, after some things stopped working early, and
Yeah.
we were fully back in shotgun mode again. And this offense is never going to hit where it needs to go unless we can give them different looks under center and in shotgun and rollouts, boots, all of that stuff. Play action, I think, is where the Seattle can really thrive, but that's not going to work if we can't run the ball. And it just the interior offensive line. It just they reared their ugly head again. And I'm going to jump to draft talk real quick. If this first round pick isn't interior offensive line, we are doing something wrong. It
Yeah.
needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed.
And this
It
is a
can
good
be
draft
it
too.
can
This is a
be
good draft for offensive linemen.
it can be Tyler Booker from Alabama. You can take Kelvin Banks from Texas and slide him inside. You can take the kid from Arizona. You can take the kid from Ohio State. We it just needs to be addressed. I mean, it is too many times now that this offense is being affected by the poor play of the interior offensive line. We can't run the ball between the tackles. We it is just the instant pressure up the middle. I mean, the Packers ran stunts in the middle all night, and
Yeah.
because they knew exactly who they wanted to pick on. I mean, I don't know if you saw like how the Packers were lining up on defense, but their whole objective was to stop the run. They
Mhm.
said basically, Jeff Hafley, the old head coach at Boston College, is their DC now, and basically
He's a good DC. I
he
respect
is
to
a good
him, man.
DC.
Respect to
He
him.
is a good DC, and basically what I saw from my perspective is that the Packers basically said we are going to shut down Seattle run, and we're going to force them to pass the ball on us to win. And the Packers have the number one pass defense in the league.
Mhm.
And they also trusted their defensive line to win their matchups when they're not bringing pressure. They brought some stunts from time to time, but they said, we're stopping the run, and Seattle is going to have to be able to pass block us enough, and we're going to lock them up on the outside, and they're just going to have to get it done that way, and we didn't.
Yeah. Did you see
And
that? Did
they
you see that
ran.
play action pass? And Gino to Tyler Lockett for 20 yards. I was screaming in the stadium. I was like, do that again, do that again, do that again. You know, be play action mode the whole game, and you would confuse them. I bet, man, if they switched, how they align and switched some of the formations, I think they would have had a better game.
And I was especially frustrated because Charbonnet broke that touchdown run, and then I don't think we ever saw Charbonnet again.
Yeah.
And it was just like I, like there at the time there was time left on the clock. where you
Yeah.
can run the ball. It wasn't like we need just to abandon the run now. There's not enough time. It just felt like we completely abandoned Charbonnet. And we'll talk about the quarterbacks later, but you got to help Sam Howell out a little bit too by giving the ball to Charbonnet, because it did seem like towards the end of the game he was starting to get it rolling a little bit. He was starting
Yeah.
to drag some defenders with him and get the fight for those extra yards, and obviously was able to break one for a touchdown. And it seemed like that was completely abandoned after he scored that first touchdown after the fumble. And so we've got to have a plan on offense. It just seems like at times where we don't have an identity on offense. That's really it. We don't have an offensive identity, and we've got to find that. And I don't know if we can find it in 3 weeks. It may be an off-season type situation, but one way or another, this offense has no identity, and they need to find an identity.